You probably want your intro. Let's do the intro.
We gotta change up that tarps off photo in the intro.
If anybody wants to know how important Dakota Josh was to the Vancouver Canucks, that was the game. Okay, so condiments. This is everything.
Everything. So we run the gamut completely, right? And
I'm talking about sriracha on the bottle.
Sriracha?
Sriracha. It's that silent R that screws me up.
Is it a silent R?
I don't know. Like, who's tall?
Who's tall?
Chris Pronger, wasn't he tall?
Chris Pronger was tall. Yeah.
Welcome to the PP1 Podcast.
Are you kidding me? That's what?
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Got the sound keys back. What was this other one?
Here we go!
Ah, that's
You
a
have to
good one.
keep some like some old Thano buttons on there.
Well, I had to redo all so that was when I added the "Here we go" button. So little Dak Prescott. It's good. It's good. Keeps people guessing. Welcome to the PP1 Podcast, a Canucks podcast, a hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. We're back for another week. We just did this on Sunday, but it feels like so much has happened. We're presenting in concert with DraftKings Sportsbook, soon to be Pick Six, and Game Time, promo code THPN. But I'll get into that a little bit later. Ted, you're here. I'm here. Grant's here.
My man.
How you doing? You're looking fresh to death.
Fresh to the death.
You got the I guess it's retro.
We should do
It's
more
retro.
of these. I really like this.
Things
I get
cost
comments
money,
on
man.
this one all the time. I feel like we can get these out to the people.
I got the sticker still here. Whoop, 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 whoop. I'm busy doing other clothing things. So actually, I just washed my mint hoodie and I wore it out in the backyard today for golfing.
Does yours have the pink on it? I can't remember.
No, I have the black one. I decided to keep the black one because that was like the OG. When we did like a redo, then the pink ones came out. Those look so good though. It's nice to see that logo. You know, like I know we kind of switched and we updated stuff, which I'm a big fan of, but I do like that retro one still because we have a retro logo now.
It's good to go back to. It's the weaker logo, but it's
Yeah. And then we've got the X logo. Throw up the X. Des Bryant.
That's your Canucks lifestyle logo.
Yeah. So we can make that work. Grant, we don't. Mint is my wife's favorite color. I've tried
the accents in our house are mint.
I'm sure both my kids both have that hoodie. So Grant, I didn't even do a double X, buddy. So it's like I can't really help you a whole lot. I think
probably just time to do another round.
It costs money, man.
Yeah.
Like I could probably do it. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. We'll see. I'm not going to promise anything. We'll see. I could probably make it happen. I took down the Christmas lights from the backyard, like everybody's seen, right? You saw the photo of me decorating the backyard for the golf green. Took them down because I needed that string of lights for the front yard. I forgot that I robbed the front yard of a string. And then there was a second string. And now like there was a third string too. And only one of them works now. I plugged it into every outlet and only one of them works now. So I was very frustrated. I had to go buy another string of lights the other night.
Yeah, I too had an annoying light, I don't know, event that happened. And we'll get to talking Canucks stuff soon. Obviously, we're just kind of catching up on this stuff. But we got these light app lights
so much
from we got these light app lights from I think it was Home Depot. And you're supposed to you download the app and like you can change the colors like all of these people are doing in all of our neighborhoods now, right? Except for like they're the icicle style lights.
Oh yeah, I know those.
You go to connect on this thing, and then because you've got multiple lights plugged in together, they won't connect at the same time. It won't go Bluetooth to Bluetooth, and it's so delayed that you swipe to the next function. It takes a minute on the app for it to register. The whole thing freezes, crashes your phone,
No.
And then you have to try to log back on to get the other light to match. And then if you accidentally bump it, one goes forward and the other's behind. So we finally got the thing reset. We finally got it to a setting that's not seizure mode, as I call it.
Yeah, you don't want seizures.
So they're 140 different settings, but it's just going to be red and green now, I think, for Infinity.
I like simplicity, believe it or not. Knowing me and all my busyness of everything, Christmas lights, I like simplicity, which is super weird because you'd think I would want like the brightest, showiest house on the block.
I got a funny story for you about Christmas lights, but it'll have to be like an off-air thing.
Oh, is there swear words?
It's not PG, but it's funny.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. So anyway, I got the smaller lights around the golf green. I lined them around all the bricks, so it's a perimeter, light up perimeter. It looks incredible. Some of my best work. I'm not gonna lie. Looks great. Very happy with what I've done. So yeah, Christmas lights. I hate
Clark Griswold, eh? Like Brent Sopel would be proud.
Yeah. I love that there's history there. I don't know if you saw me this week. I was a guest host on Pucks on Net. It was the all Ryan show. It was a lot of fun.
Chap or what? I haven't listened to it.
Yeah. It was just me and him. It was a good show. We had a great time. It was nice to not be in charge, even though I was like really close to not. I told him, I'm like, do you want me to run this also? He goes, I was like, I got buttons. I can do stuff here. I can ready to roll.
Podcast edging over there.
Yeah. Yeah, just got a dock right here. Never mind. So it was a good time. Ryan and I had a great time. It was yeah. Hey, now we had a lot of fun. It was good. Great show. I've been a big supporter of theirs for a long, long time, as of you. We will have to get Ryan and maybe Rash on our whatever Christmas show that we're doing.
Completed the trifecta at the very least.
Yeah. So nice that you didn't want to hit any golf balls out at the green. You don't want to know, Grant. It was a bad afternoon. I want to blame my gloves that I was wearing, but I was also wearing them when I nailed that hole in one. So sometimes it doesn't work out for you. Spotify Wrapped came out the last day or two. I'm not as you know, we've gone over this. I'm not a streamer of music so much so as I'm a buyer of music. So I made up my Ryanify list of the bands that I've purchased this year and songs I've listened to the most. So I thought that was pretty cool. Did you check out a Spotify your Wrapped, Ted?
I haven't looked at it yet, but I can guarantee you that there's heavy amounts of Taylor Swift on there.
Yep, there's a very good chance of that.
And heavy amounts of island reggae stuff.
Yeah. Little Jesse Roper, possibly.
Oh, there's Jesse Roper given.
He's got. Did you hear his new song?
I'm just like Teskey Brothers lately.
Teskey.
Yeah.
Related to pesky, like the pesky pool.
Way different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Jesse Roper's got a new song.
Yeah. Last time I sent you some.
Now I've got a new semi-favorite artist. So Ted's into reggae like you wouldn't believe. Our ball playlist on the field is actually, it's pretty diverse, but you can definitely tell that Ted's in charge.
It's got some everything in there. It's got something for everyone.
It's a list that he's curated quite well. What's that one? The America one? I like that one.
The America one?
Yeah. This is America or something. How does that one go? It's a good one. I like that one.
Are you talking about like the Childish Gambino song?
Maybe. I don't know. You'll have to play it after the show. It's good. Okay. I'm in the outfield and I'm just jamming along and I should probably get in the game here. Okay. So we got lots of hockey stuff to talk about. I want to get started into the Rockets, first of all. The Hockey Canada finally got something right. Andrew Crystal was invited to the World Junior Camp. He's had a decent start to the season. I think he's second in scoring. He's doing all right. Kid's doing all right. He's an absolute magician. I know that's not necessarily Hockey Canada's style to bring that type of player. But hey, guess what? Team Canada sucked for a while, so maybe we should bring in some skill. Just saying. So I'd like to see an opportunity where we see an Andrew Crystal little lacrosse goal in the World Juniors this year.
Some Canuck flavor.
Ginla is not going to be there. Yeah,
for the World
TJ
Juniors.
Ginla is not going to be there.
That's crazy. Sawyer Minio invited.
Yeah. So you saw the Tej.
I didn't realize that Tej wasn't invited. That's mind-boggling. He scored one of the nicest live.
You know why he was?
I've ever seen.
You know why he wasn't?
I don't know why.
Did you? He had season-ending surgery yesterday.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That sucks.
Yeah, so that's why he's not going there. So, which is good news for the Memorial Cup next year, because there's no way he's going to be making Utah coming back from a surgery right off the hop. So selfishly, sorry, Tej, but kind of want you in the Memorial Cup next year for the Rockets. So Team Canada's got their stuff figured out. Did you want to get into the Team Canada? Actually, we're going to get into this a little bit later. Or do you want to do this right now?
Sure.
Like, do you want to pause Canucks for a bit? Because we got some stuff here.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
So Team Canada announced their Four Nations Cup team, which, put up your hand if you actually care. No. Really?
You don't care? Why do you not care? It's the first time we've had best on best for nations, minus the Russians, minus the Czechs.
I think it's just like, it just feels... I don't care right now. I just feel like there's so much less in this. Like, there's 4 countries. That's it.
No, who cares? You get to see Sidney Crosby play with Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid. How much longer is Crosby going to be able to maintain the pace that he's at right now? And you'd rather more years go by before you can see McDavid at his best playing with still high-end Sidney Crosby and Nate McKinnon?
Like, I think there's a Russian team that would still be, and I know that they're not.
Kyle McCarr out on that list. Like, I just don't know how you hate on this. Like,
I don't know. I think this tournament feels a little funny. That's all. And I mean, it seems. I mean, Canada's not even going to be the top team in there. Their goaltending is just
isn't that half of the fun though?
I suppose.
I mean, has Canada ever needed elite goaltending? You just have to have good goaltending. You have to have goaltending that's not going to give up bad goals. And I think we have that.
I mean, their defense, I guess, is going to be pretty good.
Aiden Hill has been very good. He's not your prototypical. I mean, I like him more to like a Tim Thomas almost, right? Like, makes the NHL at an advanced stage, like had like a little bit of fanfare, has really like improved his game, but he's been so solid for Vegas. And then Vegas doing everything that they're doing right now looks downright scary. You see that game, the Vegas Edmonton game?
Was that the one where they had 0 penalties and there's 1 goal?
But like, just fine. And then I think you've got like Montembeault on there, and you've got Binnington, who we all hate Jordan Binnington, right? But the guy's been fine. He's not going to be that guy that's going to just win you games, but that's not what Canada needs.
And there's probably going to be an opportunity too for at least 2 of them to play.
Yeah, like we're probably not going to see Montembeault play. Like, it's probably going to be Binnington and Hill, and I think it's going to be Hill out of the 2. It's the worst goaltending in the tournament. It would probably still be the worst goaltending in the tournament if you added other, like if Russia's there for sure, then it's the 5th ranked team.
Yeah.
Like, you can probably even throw, I mean, who does the Czech Republic have for goal? Maybe, yeah, it's not great. There's no huge names there, right? But we've kind of been running into that the last while for Team Canada, even at the junior level, right? There hasn't been huge goaltending names. We haven't seen guys get drafted on the high end. They've just been guys. Like, I mean, even think back to like when it was Justin Pogge and Glass making those early Team Canada junior squad teams, right? Like, Canada as a nation generally puts in goalies that just aren't going to give up bad goals, right? Like, I thought it would have been neat if we saw Fleury get in there.
And that was a guy I was kind of hoping to see, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. Like, I would have loved to see the Flower, but there's also some young guys on this squad. Like, I mean, strange names, right? Like, you got Hagel, there's Anthony Cirelli, Travis Konechny. Like, those are
I like Konechny. Yeah,
I mean, you got a line that's gonna feature Mitch Marner and Braden Point and Brad Marchand. Like, you still got. I mean, that's not even the line necessarily, right? Like, you got Sam Reinhart and you got Mark Stone. Like, this is a very, very, very good roster. I still think it's got the best forwards out of the lot, and it's just going to be an all-out offense, right? I mean, the D is still very, very good. You've got like a couple like huge guys in there in Parayko and Pietrangelo, right? I mean, Shea Theodore, we all know, is a puck moving master. You got Devon Tays, who's very, very good, and Cale Makar. So there's a built-in pair right there. And then you still have a guy like Josh Morrissey and Travis Sanheim, right? Like that's a good squad. How good does the goaltending need to be? It just needs to not be bad.
Do you think? What was I going to say? Do you think them not snubbing, but knowing that the last tournament we saw best on best would have been, was it the World Cup?
I
think.
Was that the,
or was it the Olympics?
Was it the Olympics?
No, I think it was the Olympics.
I don't think
wasn't it?
No, it wasn't the Olympics.
So
Demko was considered the third or fourth guy at that time, right? And you still had Campbell ranked ahead of him.
Right. So like the last one, there was the Young Stars team or whatever. So this one doesn't have like a Connor Bedard and obviously not a Macklin Celebrini. There was some talk that it would be good to have one of those guys, more so Celebrini, because, just for him to be like your 13th forward kind of thing. Do you think they missed putting Bedard on that, like over like a Seth Jarvis or something like that? Like, does it matter?
Not Seth Jarvis. Like Seth Jarvis is very, very underrated. Like that's a hell of a player. That was a really sneaky pick. I think he was probably not on a lot of radars. Like there's not many, if any, projections I saw that had Seth Jarvis making this team. But like, if you really break it down and see the type of player that is, and the underlying numbers and how he's going to complement other players on this squad, like it's going to turn out to be a very good pick. It's not going to be like the Rob Zaminer making the team, right? Like that checking line, fourth line center when that happened. So really smart player. I think we still have to worry about the United States. I think that D-core is very, very good. We talked about the fact that, I think Grant's got in here talking about having to cheer against Quinn Hughes, right? I mean, he's right. Hughes is the best defenseman in the NHL now, period. Second best one might be on Team Canada and Cale Makar, and that's going to be weird, right? It'll sort of be like the dynamic of Ryan Kessler shouting Canada sucks.
That was good.
Right?
That's still one of my favorite moments.
But they're going to be very good. By all accounts, JT Miller is going to be back soon, but you got a very good American squad that still features guys like Jack Eichel and Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. I think it was weird that Vinny Trocheck made the team. I think there was a couple of guys, including one named Brock Besser, that I probably would have put on this squad over him. Brock Nelson is another strange one. I guess he's good, but like I still think you had some better players there that you could have brought on.
Maybe they just want force on that team because Besser is more of a finesse guy. Maybe they just want to like match force with force on that team.
Maybe you just don't want a 40 goal scorer that's really good on the walls and strong defensively.
It's funny how
he's not small. You know
what's funny too? Like US probably has a pretty good B team too.
US has probably got a great B team. That D-core is ridiculous, right? Like,
I'm just saying Canada has a B team, so the US Canada B squad game would probably be equally entertaining.
Yeah, I mean,
like we would never talk about that, but this is like a point in time where both teams would actually have a good backup team.
Like both Canada and the US have absolute studs on D and at forward, right? They got like the superstar players, the Austin Matthews, the Jack Hughes, the Quinn Hughes, Fox, right? And then you go back to Canada. We already talked about that first line that features two of the best players in the world and the former best player in the world. Not to mention the other best defenseman in the world, right? Like the edges has to go to the Americans for goaltending, but there's still, a high-end squad in the Swedes with that probably maybe the best well-rounded D-core.
Right.
Forwards start to lack a little bit. They're sort of like missing that true absolute stud, but every single one of those guys is going to be a well-rounded defensive forward.
Right. I'm just changing my screen here. I don't want it to look weird.
Yeah, I'll get the weak squad. I think the one weak link in this one, and it's weird to call it a weak link, is going to be the Finns, right? But You got Kevin Lankinen making that squad, which is really cool. So he's going to go back to backing up UC Saros, but that's kind of fun for him, right? You got a couple of dangerous guys and Sebastian Aho and Joel Armia, but like Alexander Barkov. So he still might be the best well-rounded player in the league in Barkov.
Yeah.
And that's probably how they're going to have to do it. But still, on the defensive side of things, I think they're just good, right? The defense probably represents the same amount of quality that you're getting out of like the Team Canada goaltending experience.
So can I ask you a question? Why do I feel the way I do about this tournament right now? Like, I know I'm going to be excited about it because it is a best on best, and it'll have that fun kind of like almost like a Memorial Cup style, right?
Yeah, all those things you like.
Yeah, I know. So like, I don't understand why I'm not as like amped right now. Like,
it's probably for the same reason that you hate puppies. I don't know.
Puppies suck though. Puppies are the worst. You know how hard those things are to train? They are the worst.
I think that you like me, right? We're working at a time when during the Olympics we were in the absolute thick of it. You were more than me, obviously, because I was a little outside of it, but you had to experience every drop of how important that was and how big that team was and how good the rest of the nations had become at that time.
Yeah.
And this isn't that. And I think everything that's not that to you is going to be a bit of a letdown.
I think the shine, I mean, really, maybe it's this like that I feel like I've been spoiled so much. Like we all have. Like, look what we've had to watch 2014 was just an absolute write-off. That tournament shouldn't have even happened. Canada was so good. Like, you wake up at 4 a.m. to watch that game. You're like, this is an absolute drubbing of Sweden. I'm going back to bed. Like, I remember my eyes were just so heavy. I even had to work that Sunday too, because we were doing like a home show or something. And I'm just, the whole day, I'm like, this is going to be the longest day ever. I'm like, Canada won, but like, surprise, surprise. Like, because they were so good. So I think we've been so spoiled. And I know I'm going to get excited about this. Like, I do love this best on best, but I don't know. Like, maybe it's the week I've had or something. I don't know. But I haven't been as excited, which brought me to what we're going to do. We're going to do top 5 again today. We'll do that a little bit later. Yeah, we'll do that a little bit later. While I'm thinking about it, we can get ads in right off the hop. So, folks, here comes an ad read on the podcast version of this show. This is me talking about ads. And now I'm done with the ads. It's actually more fun.
It like makes you giggle every time.
I just, because it's silly. I mean, we're puppets. We really are. So it's funny. Let's talk about the Canucks. Should we talk about the Canucks?
Love it.
So there are rumors, not rumors. There's information out there. JT Miller has been skating, which is great.
It's recently named the squad too for Team USA, so that's optimistic.
Yeah. So I don't care what the stuff was going on with him. I could care less. It's none of my business. JT Miller, if he is back on this Canucks team as soon as tomorrow, rocking the freaking black skate jersey, let's go, is all I can say. Let's go. Canucks are back. Demko is rumored. Well, again, I don't want to take away this rumor word. Demko said he could be in the lineup as a backup as soon as end of the weekend.
Next 3 games.
What? Like, let's go. Honestly, this is what we've been waiting for. We get 2 of our absolute core guys back, and the Canucks are already doing well. Like that Minnesota game, I didn't get to see the whole thing. I was at Costco for the 3rd period. But what I did see was that we basically got jobbed once again by the NHL. Thank you so much. And, Brock hits a post. So this Canucks team lost to the best team in the NHL in OT. And realistically, there should have been an opportunity for them to have won that game. Like, the Canucks are moving up, and we're going to get 2 absolute. Yeah, it sounded like it. So, like, we need to get excited here, is all I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, we've been doing what we've been doing. And I say we, obviously, right? But, like, the Canucks have been doing what they've been doing through patchwork, right? And I think that speaks to the depth of this team. And we were talking about it off air. Guys like Bluger and guys like Suter that are important players that fit in and play wing on this squad, but also can take very, very important minutes and play center, right? I mean, it's stretched the depth, tested it a little bit. There's been all sorts of call-ups. Those guys have come in and done a good job. They've done it in pieces, right? I mean, we talked about Sherwood playing up on that first line and then dropping down and playing with Pettersson and going on a bit of a run, and then next guy in, and lo and behold, you've got Puis Suter step up and just be like an absolute stud the last little while.
Yeah, he's been a workhorse.
To the point where I'm not sure what happens when Miller comes back, but I think that's the bonus about it, right? Like Miller can come back and he doesn't have to be your number one center right off the bat. They can still keep coming in with the team they have and the way that the roster is configured and keep plugging away. And then you can insert a JT Miller and not have to have him in this starring role for a little while until he gets his legs under him and starts to find his game again. He's still going to bring that snarl. He's still going to be that JT Miller, the guy that makes it tough to play against, who's going to be better than an alternative, right? Like if Ratu has to draw out of the lineup, Miller might not be all the way back yet, but you're still getting a better game, right? And I think that's like an important thing to note. In fact, that he's obviously going to be an emotional leader on this squad, regardless of whether he's out there in A or not, right? But yeah, I think having Demko come in is also going to provide that same boost that the team has had. But again, doesn't have to come in and be the guy right away. When he was hurt last time and he had to come back and he was moving in and out of injuries, like when Demko was in the lineup, they needed him to be classic Demko, and he's not been great coming back from injury. Part of the reason why is that he's had to been rushed back into being like this graceful guy Demko, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it has to happen either, right? Because Lankinen's been so good. And it's going to be difficult for him to get the net back, having to share with a guy that's been that good. But that's not a bad thing in this case, right? I think finally is going to be afforded the ability to just get his game back. So I'm really happy. I'm really optimistic about that. They start to get these pieces back. Obviously, we lose Hronek. That's going to be a huge piece. But who knows what happens? It looks like they've made some call-ups today.
Yeah.
That's
Karamaki, I think, right?
McWard's coming up. Karamaki. I was listening to was it Canucks talk earlier today? I can't remember. Just talking about the fact that some of these guys might just be coming up for practicing, and I think that's great too, right? I mean, but McWard's a kind of a low event right-handed D that we haven't seen yet in this lineup. And I know there was talks at the beginning of the year and through training camp before some signings are made about how he might be a succession plan for a guy that can spread and spend minutes with Quinn Hughes. So who knows?
And he's fit in. First of all, before we get to Demko, because that's a huge story too. If at all, if we see JT Miller either tomorrow night or on Sunday against Tampa. Is that right? Tampa's on Sunday? Yeah.
Second day, I think.
Yeah. So if we see Miller on one of those two games, now someone had brought this up as well, but I do agree that I think this is going to be big. There's going to be a bigger JT Miller chant than you're going to hear at a Taylor Swift concert. Like it's going to be catastrophic levels of chanting. It's going to be sometimes, we get behind the story. And when Brock came back, and there's a lot of guys, right? Who knows what he's going through? It could have been physical. It could have been whatever. But we're behind this guy. And it is going to be, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. We are going to get behind this. And I would love to be in the building for one of those two games this weekend because it is going to be electric. That being said, for Thatcher Demko, like you said, he doesn't have to be the guy. Do you almost think, I guess if they're spacing it out, Lankinen could probably carry the mail for the next 3 games as nothing's a back-to-back. Do you think there's a chance that Shilovs plays another game this season?
I mean, this season, who knows? Yes.
Okay. Based on the circumstances we're believing to happen, Demko is going to be coming back shortly. Do you see Shilovs playing in the circumstances now?
If everyone's healthy, no.
Yeah.
Because we know at the very least, like floor for Kevin Lankinen is that he's an established NHL backup.
Right.
He's an established NHL backup that demands, 20 to 30 starts a year. And so there's no room for Archer Sealoves, and quite frankly, that's fine. That's okay now, right? I mean, before jumping in and really taking the reins for this team in the playoffs so admirably, and he was really fun to watch. He was struggling last year. He had some inconsistency issues, right? And that a lot of that was sort of washed away by the success in the playoffs. But it's good for him to go down there and finally get some games and get some training in with it to Renius and spend some time. And it's been good that he's been up with the NHL, but he's gonna go down there and it's gonna be him and Filipilo. And that's gonna be exactly what they need. And if he's not ready, like he hasn't been ready this year, because that big slump, right? And you could call this his sophomore slump. I know that he's played
absolutely
prior to that, right? But you experience that much success and then you have a bit of a fall down. He's going to have to go down there and pick his game up a little bit, and that's okay. Because the whole thing was that he was a developmental goaltender. If he had arrived this year as an NHL backup, he would have been ahead of schedule. He's not ready yet. Back to the farm.
Yeah. So interesting. I mean, who would have thought it would have played out this way, right? After the playoffs, we're thinking, okay, well, we know we got in Shelovs. We don't have to worry about it. Lankinen comes in and
fire.
It's kind of like, well, it's not that we didn't, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had a game, or was it? I didn't recognize your game kind of thing. But he's been incredible, but that's been his job. So he's come as advertised. He's come in and he's earned that paycheck every single penny.
I would say coming in as advertised is an underrated statement. I think he's been better than advertised. I think he's been at a high end NHL starter this year. Period. And he's been that good. He had one little slump when he had a whole run of games, like it was like 6 or 8 games in a row,
which is inevitable.
Where he started to look normal. Part of that was because they couldn't trust Shelovs to play.
Yeah. So they knew he was going to run out of gas at some point.
But all of a sudden, he's boom. These last 8 games again or so, he's found his gaming. I find myself every game watching him play, being like just awed that some of the saves that he's making. Like he's still making some 5-alarm saves, right? Like he's playing. You're right. He's playing like, I mean, he's not an elite goaltender by any means, but he's definitely playing like it's his net to lose until Demko gets there, right? Like there's no reason that it should be anybody else but him. He's been great. And I think it helps having some support up front where this team actually is playing pretty well. Like the Canucks are playing some pretty good hockey right now. So when it does break down and they are, siphoning up shots, like the first periods have not looked pretty for the Canucks. Like they've been giving up 5 and 6 shots to 1 before things start evening out. So they're also going to have to correct that, because I think, again, this is the kind of thing that happened last year. Like you can't just rely on that you're going to get back into the game and solve this within, 5 or 10 minutes. It's working out again a little bit, but that recipe is going to be a disaster when you start playing, the teams that are going to make you pay if you allow them to shoot that much on you. So in interesting times, but it's also exciting times. You and I were chatting about this little topic before the show, and thankfully we went live. Otherwise, we probably would have been doing this till like 10:30 tonight. Nils Hoglander is a guy that people are talking about as a potential trade target, that he's been involved in packages that have fallen through, this, that, and the other. I was looking at a Pittsburgh player that I haven't really heard out there. Now, this is me kind of digging around, trying to find something. Blake Lizotte. So, as you were saying, he's a little bit smaller than Hoglander. He is... I don't know how you found like, the one guy on the squad who's smaller than...
I'm good at these things. What can I say? I was looking around. He's a UFA after next year. His cap hit just shy of 1.9. He also signed his contract in July this year. I think Hoglander signed in June or August. I can't remember. So both of these guys have signed fresh contracts. Both of these guys are lower down the lineup. Pittsburgh has Lizotte as a third line center. I mean his Corsi and his other fancy stats are actually pretty good. Where am I looking here? So He's got a goal for percentage of 63.6, which is pretty good. His Corsi's 55.6. His relative Corsi's 3.9. He's having a decent season. Is this one of those guys that maybe both teams are like, hey, maybe we overstepped by a season and we saw a little bit more than we thought, or we saw what we thought we saw, and maybe it wasn't as much as that, and you flip these guys? Now, I could see that being part of a bigger trade. Like, is this Marcus Pettersson thing actually happening? I could see there being a little bit more to this. But, like, what do you think about Blake Lizotte? Do you think he could be like a hybrid kind of center winger?
Yeah, I like Blake Lizotte. I think he's fine. I think he almost reminds me a little bit more of like a Connor Garland type. But I don't know. I don't know what Pittsburgh's doing if they've just decided to sign this guy to a pretty team-friendly contract. You know what he's making per year?
He's 1.89.
I mean,
or
1.89 mil. So Vancouver would be saving 1.2 million in cap.
Well, if it was straight across.
Yeah, if it was straight across, like they're playing a guy who's producing right now and who's looking good. He's got 7 points in 11 games. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the player past that point, but I mean, you'd be taking on a player who, has proven that he can hit the 24, 25 goal mark and is a different kind of player. He plays like a little miniature power forward almost in Nils Höglander. But what are you banking on? You're banking on a little bit of, you're getting some age back. You're taking on a more expensive contract for a player that's probably doing a little less for you than you want him to, and you're letting go of a player who is currently producing for you. So I don't know how that happens exactly. I don't know if that's a guy that Pittsburgh wants to get rid of, but when it comes to the Pettersson thing, I'm just not a big Pettersson fan. Of course, I like the name. I think it'd be really neat to have,
Yeah, but gimmick aside,
some sort of Pokemon collection of Petterssons in the NHL. Like, sure, that'd be fun. You got to catch them all.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I think he's, a very average defenseman who's got some game defensively, but we have a couple of guys who have that. I think he'd be able to stabilize. We're going to have to pay more than just Nils Höglander to get Pettersson. And he's going to be a guy that's going to get paid this offseason. So I don't think we have the ability to even re-sign him. We just went through that whole thing with Zadorov, but we know that this guy's not Zadorov either, right? So I think there's other bets out there, other players you can probably go after that aren't Pettersson, and that's not the guy that I want. So that being said, I'd be interested to see what Pittsburgh has to offer. Maybe Vancouver thinks there's some sort of addition by subtraction thing, and they're just looking for assets, be it picks or prospects.
Yeah.
But that probably opens the door a little bit for a guy like Lukaramäki to gain extra minutes, or Archie Bains to have to pick up the slack. I don't think you're losing a whole lot at this point based on what the season's been for Höglander. If you were to insert a Bains, you're probably getting a better defensive player. There's not going to be as much there offensively. But it would really just be nice if Höglander figured out his game over the next little bit here before this trade happens. So it ups his value. And if they don't find anything, then at the very least, they get a player that's still in their roster doing something.
Right. And I think we might have talked about this last week, or maybe it was on the other show I was on this week. I mean, it would be nice to just have Höglander kind of figured out, which is it's a lot to say when we talk about hockey, right? There's guys that go through stuff and they do figure it out, and then they regress. And has his development been stunted maybe a little bit because he was forced in and then went back, had some success, and now gets this contract and everything's expected of him? Like, maybe he's just not handling it the way that you get a pretty decent sized contract. Maybe he just doesn't know how to handle all of that yet. Maybe there's just too much going on.
I think it's been a little bit of Höglander just like trying a little too hard, because it's not for lack of that. He's still doing things out there. He's still controlling the puck. He's still a beast on the walls. He's been absolutely snake bitten though. Like, he has been robbed on some stuff that he should have scored on. Like, it's those penalties that, like, tripping a guy as the play is going away from you and they're turning it up ice, and it's like, it's not for lack of effort, everything that he's putting out there. So I don't hate that part about it, right? Like, when a player is out there doing the right things from an effort standpoint and working hard to do as he's asked, you want to have some empathy for him to try to turn it around. It's when it's square peg, round hole, the body language stuff, the perceived lack of effort, right? For a bunch of these guys, Connor Garland included, we just wanted him to try to turn it around. We just wanted Brock to turn it around and get out of this slump. We just wanted JT Miller to turn it around and get out of this slump that he's in. And those three guys right now are guys Pedersen. That Pedersen. Those three guys right now are four guys now in the case of Pedersen are guys that just turned it around, that we waited on and had some patience with. And now we're loving what they're doing. I don't know. We might have already seen the ceiling for Nils Höglander. But if the ceiling is here in Vancouver and he's a 40-point guy who can pop you 20 goals or 25 goals, that's okay by me.
And he's already banked on the books. You already know what you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, Pedersen's game turned around once Höglander wasn't really on that line anymore. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but you just want the guy to, because his game can make it as a top six guy, and his game can also make it as a bottom six guy. You just got to find a way to be productive, right? And not take those bad penalties, and to not create those turnovers, not to try to do so much, to simplify his game, and it will be better. I think the result will be better. Is
he Tyler Myersing himself right now?
I don't know. I think Tyler Myers, that was not, I mean, so much of it wasn't his fault. We picked on him a lot early in his career, but that was because he had to be the number one guy, but he was also getting paid like a number one guy.
Yeah.
Once his role was simplified and he was not miscast in his role, what happened to Tyler Myers? I mean, he looked really good. So I don't know if maybe he was miscast, Höglander, playing on that second line, right? I mean,
well, I think he showed that he wasn't necessarily miscast. It looked like that's what he was going to fit as.
Yeah, I mean, you come into a camp and you're in the best shape on the team.
Mm-hmm.
You look like a brick shithouse, and everybody knows you got hands, and you do all the right things in practice, and you look like a stud in preseason. Why wouldn't you think that, right? The guy walked away from last season as a 24 goal scorer. I mean, he had more success than Brock had in a bunch of seasons last year. So why wouldn't you think that there's more potential for him to round out his game to be an even more dangerous player?
Truth. We're going to skip Name the Canuck this week. You cool with that?
Yeah.
We're going to get into, we're going to return to segment this week.
Top five.
You guys remember that one? I got a good one. I've actually done some prep for this one that I know. So I learned this from Ryan on Pucks on Net. You should see his rundown, man. Puts us to shame.
Yeah, me doing as little prep as possible. Just yammering
that doesn't help. I'm not gonna lie. But like even on our first season of like our rundowns and everything, man, it looks like they run a show over there.
Yeah.
We just show up. We're like, hey, you good to go? Yeah, okay, let's go. Do you read the rundown? Well, I'll figure it out once we start. Yeah, that's how we roll. But that's what makes us awesome. So we were talking about Team Canada and the Four Nations roster. And I thought, because I was in a bit of a funk this week, some work stuff has got me upset. So I've been a bit of a Grinch. Speaking of, there's a Grinch meal at McDonald's you guys should check out. I've been a little bit Grinchy this week, but I thought like this would be fun because it's a typical Ryan. This is so ridiculous, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to name a Team Canada roster of our own based on guys that are still in the NHL that were really good. So the names are still there. They're just nowhere near what they used to be. So they were worthy of our praise back in the day. So here's the list. I tried to keep it so that we wouldn't lose our faces. So there's the list of guys to choose from. Some of them are in there that got missed, some snubs from this actual team. But, we got like Marc-Andre Fleury, Brent Burns, Taylor Hall, Jamie Benn. Like these guys are still in the NHL. They're just...
Is this all-time snub or what?
No. This is like, these are guys that, Shea Weber and Carey Price and Seabrook, like some of these guys are just LTIR. So technically they're still in the league. So
if you were playing like Chell 24, you could
they're technically in the game. So I just thought it would be kind of funny to pick a top 5 for each of us Team Canada of guys that were really good, but aren't necessarily elite world talent anymore. So,
Okay.
There's good names there. So I figured it was easier. And I went through every team, and man, that was tough. There's a lot of young kids in this league. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So I'm going to give you first dibs because I'm such a nice guy. So I don't know. If you want to start your team.
I got to pick 5 guys here.
Yeah, we're going to goalie, 2D, and 3 forwards.
Okay. I'm gonna go the opposite direction of where this current NHL squad sits.
Oh,
and I'm gonna build from the net out, and I'm gonna take Carey Price.
Oh, okay.
The elite one, the archetype for an NHL goalie, a guy that could have succeeded in any era, who never won the big prize in the NHL, but was an elite international goaltender, and had to retire early.
Didn't he win a Vezina?
I think he's got a Vezina in there, yeah. So
that's a pretty big prize.
And for playing for some notoriously bad Montreal Canadian teams,
some snake-bitten teams too.
Snake-bitten teams, injury bugs. The better goalie of the two when you're comparing him to Marc-Andre Fleury, but doesn't have the same hardware. Even though the Flower was a very amazing goalie in his own right. So I'm going to take Carey Price in this one.
So the nice thing is by default, I'm going to get Fleury. So I'm not going to pick him yet. I mean, you could take 2 goalies and make it interesting, I suppose, but that'd be waste. But you've done these things before. So I'm not picking a goalie first. I am going to go with, this guy, he hasn't had, the greatest of starts, but he's picking it up in there, and he was hoping to make a run this year in a new jersey. He's got a brighter jersey than he used to have. I'm going to go with, have you seen Stamkos? Remember that?
Not this year.
No. Remember that thing? Seen Stamkos when he got drafted, or when he got signed to Tampa, or drafted to Tampa?
I don't remember.
Like many, many years ago, one of my coworkers back when I was in Surrey there, he got one of those little bracelets. It was like this huge campaign, Seen Stamkos. Like, have you seen Stamkos? And it was like just this gimmicky thing, but he got one of these little wristbands. So fun times. Steven Stamkos, Stanley Cup winner, elite. He had a good World Juniors too, if I remember correctly. Steven Stamkos was he was a beast. So I'm gonna go with Stammer as my first pick.
Yeah, ex-Sarnia Sting, I believe, right? Steve Stamkos.
Canucks trade target.
I'm gonna take post Crosby generational talent in John Tavares. I gotta go center in this one. He was elite in his own right, still a high-end player offensively. Doesn't get it done at 5-on-5 like he was. He's still a power play merchant. But this guy, pretty consistent, underrated player. Am I right in saying that he never broke the century mark? But yeah, again, a bunch of notoriously bad teams in Long Island. But I think you got to go. I'm going to go with John Tavares in this one. It's a little bit snake bitten himself internationally. Got injured in the Olympics.
That's right.
Which was a total bummer because he was sort of in line to be a key player for that squad. So it'll be a redemption year for John Tavares.
Ooh, that's a good pick though. That's a good pick. He took a little bit longer than I think everybody wanted, but man, he's been such a stud.
Did he really?
Didn't he start slow in Long Island?
I don't think so.
Didn't he?
We'll check.
Okay.
I'm bringing it up here.
Okay. You got to figure it out.
Oh, yeah. He had 54 points in his first year, 67
which is still really good.
81. He had 47 in a lockout year in 48 games. 66 points, 86 points, 70, 66, 84, 88, 60, 50, 76, 80, 65, and he's got 22 and 24 this year. So extremely consistent, 1,000-point guy, almost a point per game player, 467 goals, 146 power play goals on the career. So heck of a player.
He's a good player. Lifelong Leafs guy. definitely.
Grant, I love how Leafs fans are so upset that Tavares wasn't selected to the Four Nations. Like, what are you thinking? Of course he's not on the Four Nations Cup. Like, what? Leafs fans are so funny. Like,
I was mad
I
there was no
can't believe
Canucks.
Connor Garland wasn't named to Team
Yeah.
USA. Like,
I was mad there's no Canucks on Team Canada. Like, Ryan, they don't have any Canadian players. I know. Like, there should still be one. How come Quinn Hughes? He's American. Why isn't he in Canada? Right. He's because he's American. Oh, okay. Checks out. I'm going to go with a recent Stanley Cup winner. He's a bad man. He's an Ekblad man. I'm talking about Aaron Ekblad. Absolute stud on the back end. I'm gonna build out quite a decent defensive pairing. Just me and potatoes. This guy. What's not to like? Sick beard too. Got left off. Whatever. Who cares? He's on my team now.
he was like one of those guys in junior that could just like grow the full beard, right? Like just look like an absolute man child, but then gets to the NHL and is like a 22-year-old, looks like he's like 35.
Yeah, what's with that?
Yeah. So a bit of a freak too.
It took
right?
me 35 years to look like a 35-year-old, and he gets it before he's, out of his 20s.
And then also an exceptional status player too in the OHL. So that was
That's right. He was
as a defenseman, right? And he wasn't just absolutely dominant. He was defensive. He didn't put up huge points, but he didn't need to. You just couldn't do anything on the guy. And I think that he was like a bit of an undervalued defenseman as far as the NHL level goes.
Like the Darrell Revis of defensemen in the NHL.
That's just leave the guy on an island. Yeah. Get fast. I'm going to take a guy who's been undervalued, probably as a prospect, and being selected late in the NHL entry draft, and that's homegrown talent Shea Weber.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
I don't know how you left this guy off the squad. I don't know how you picked Aaron Ekblad over Shea Weber. I don't know for sure without looking at their totals. I'd be surprised if Ekblad's able to touch Weber's numbers. Definitely not from a power play perspective. He's got the bomb from the point. Was just an absolute horse on the back end. Saw this guy train live with the sled machines at his back, looking like he was just pulling tractors up and down the hill. An absolute freak. Injuries got the best of him. We had that funny trade with the PK Subban thing where he went to Montreal and then Subban ended up in Nashville.
I forgot PK Sub. Oh no, he's retired. Never mind.
PK would have been a fun one too, but a guy that probably should have been taken in the first round of the NHL entry draft. Probably should have been a top 10 pick, maybe higher, maybe a top 5. And fell. What was he? Was he fourth round?
Because second round.
No, second round. Sorry.
Dion Phaneuf went 7th, right?
And Phaneuf was a good pick, right, for a long time.
Well, was it? And no. I think the main thing on that was, and I'm just looking here, 9th he was picked.
Yeah. Dion
Phaneuf was 9th that year. But everybody was high on Dion Phaneuf, and everyone was sleeping on Shea Weber. And everyone in Kelowna was just laughing like, you guys are making not a big mistake, but everyone has missed. Everyone's missed. I messed up on this because I tucked him at the very end of this, which was my own fault.
Yeah, so
I hit him. I should have had him at the top.
So I'm gonna take Shea Weber in here. So I don't know.
That was my Zadina moment. That was my Philip Zadina moment. Sorry. Jeez. Well, okay. So I got Ekblad and I've got Stamkos. Let's go with you know what? I'm gonna go with Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall, absolute. The guy was. I mean, I'm not going to say he was like a Ryan Smith type player when it comes to Canada, but Taylor Hall has represented Canada a little bit, and late in his career, he really got things going again, which was super interesting. When he won MVP that year, didn't he? In New Jersey,
he did win a scoring title, and I think that was New Jersey.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of looking at all the names, and I want to make this interesting. I don't want to make it obvious, so I'm going to go with Taylor Hall. Yeah, I'm sure he is. Yeah, I believe it. He does give that, doesn't he? He does give that look for sure. Or when I could see that. Well, I mean, he probably didn't want to be there, Grant. I'm guessing. He probably didn't want to be in the AHL after he was highly touted in the NHL for so long. So, checks out. So Taylor Hall's my guy.
So I'm going to go back to the Rockets well on this one, and I'm going to go take Jamie Benn. Again, the guy is still a stud, still getting it done. He was, again, an underrated player for the Kelowna Rockets. He somehow made a squad in Team Canada for that junior year when nobody thought that he was going to make it. All he happened to do was lead the tournament in scoring, makes his way to Dallas, leads the NHL in scoring one year, resurrects his career as like a second line player in Dallas as they sort of figured things out on that line with Tyler Seguin. And he is just an absolute beast to play, like that grumpy old man kind of deal that can still get it done. In terms of international experience, quality, hardware. He made fun of the Twins, which was like a funny thing back in the day. But
who didn't?
I'm going to take Jamie Benn over Taylor Hall all day on this one.
That's fine. I'm going for a creative lineup.
I have to lightly slander your picks as we go through this thing.
You know what? You've lightly slandered me for years, so this is nothing new. Okay, so I'm going to stick with a forward on here. So I'm going to round out my forward. So I got Stamkos and I got Taylor Hall. Let's go with the guy that totally didn't deserve to win the MVP in 2011, but he did. I was in the room when it happened. I'm going with Corey Perry.
That was probably going to be my next pick at forward. So good for you.
An absolute, his prime years were just unthinkable. He was just a pain in the ass. Him and Getzy, and there were some good teams there. And he still managed to jump back and get some decent seasons even after his prime years. He kind of was resurrected also. And you know what? Again, we don't necessarily love Corey Perry as a guy. I think a lot of people aren't a big fan of Corey Perry. In this sense, I'm a big fan, and you could always rely, especially with Team Canada. He definitely fit in. He was on that Olympic team too, wasn't he? 2010. Pretty sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Him and Getzlaf, So he was what a lock on that team.
Him and Getzlaf were on that line. That's remember when they made that team, they were going to carry pairs into it to build their line. So you have two guys that played together, and then they'd add a forward. Yeah.
So that to me, I missed out on Shea Weber, but I'm going to make sure that I have Corey Perry on my team.
Okay, love it. Corey Perry, again, tons of hardware. Dangerous player for a long, long time. Just a complete piece of shit to play against.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much everything that you'd want in an international player.
On DP,
buddy. I'm gonna stay big on this one.
Go big,
and I'm gonna go a little bit off the board, and I'm gonna take Brent Burns.
He was sitting there.
The guy's still playing. The guy's still getting it done. Super weird dude. Also super cool. What was Minnesota doing all those years trying to use him?
I don't know.
I might use him at forward on my squad because I don't know what I need. But just an absolute house. Great skater. He's got that wrister from hell. I think if you were to put a team together and you had a physical profile of what you needed a defender to look and play like, Brent Burns would probably be on that list. And I think if I'm going to pair him here with Weber or use him at forward, I'm not sure yet. I think we'd be in pretty good shape having him defend in front of a guy like Carey Price. That's
a good team. So to recap, I'm going to go over my guys here. So I've got Stammer, I've got Perry, and I've got Hall as my forwards. I've got Ekblad on D. Obviously, I'm going to get Marc-Andre Fleury. And because you'd be stupid to have two goaltenders, that would be a waste, really. There's some better picks than having two goaltenders. So I need a defenseman, and then eventually Fleury will be my last one. So I am going to take... You know what? I put him on this list for a reason. Let's go back to Pittsburgh and we're going to have a guy that helped my eventual goalie win a Stanley Cup, Chris Letang, good friend of Luc Bourdon, an absolute menace, like as far as talent went with Chris Letang. Canada was happy to have him. He has been nothing but successful, and I don't have a bad thing to say about him. Like, he's won cups. He's been through that whole run and has earned it. And he's played for Team Canada, and he's on my team now. So I don't need Shea Weber. I don't need Shea Weber. I don't need Brent Burns. I don't need hulks, and I don't need brute force. I just have skill, Ted. I have skill.
Who likes those guys?
Skill wins always. The Raiders.
Yeah. Who needs those huge guys?
Nobody. It's too slow. It's a fast man's game now.
Yeah, ain't nobody need that. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna
wear this shirt. I've already declared myself league champion on this one.
Get out of here! I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pair my guy Shea Weber. I'm gonna pair him with Brent Seabrook like they did in the Olympics, and I'm moving Burns to forward.
Oh, that's
nobody. There's just no getting around this team. I just don't know how you get into the defense or the offensive zone to score. I don't know what you do. There's too much toughness here. You've got too big of a goalie on the backstop. I think we're probably going to have to ask. We're going to have to ask AI to see who wins this game again. Because close.
Dang it! Oh, it's too late. We'll have to do that for next week. That's a good pick. So obviously, I got Marc-Andre Fleury as my team. That'd be interesting. I'm gonna throw that in there and in their prime. So I'm assuming I just throw in their prime which of these teams would win.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah,
I can do
Michael
that.
J. Fox.
No, yeah, okay. Yeah, that took like 2 weeks to fully get that one settled. So it's like overall, these fictional characters would lose out to. That's good. I missed that. I forgot about that. That was a lot of fun. Well, we tried to do 45 minutes and we went over slightly. That's how we do. This has been a lot of fun. Did you have fun?
Oh, always.
This is what we do. That's a good list of players there. And get rid of that for the last little bit. Canucks play tomorrow night. We got a game against Tampa on Sunday at 1:00, which is going to compete with the last week of regular season of fantasy football. And then they've got St. Louis, and then they've got Boston, I think, next weekend. Florida is in there as well. Canucks have a nice little schedule. JT Miller and Thatcher Demko are potentially returning. This is a good time. This is a good time to be a Canucks fan. I'm excited. I'm excited for success.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the bag of chips that's waiting for me upstairs.
It's going to be a good little run.
Because I'm going to be a league champion after AI decides that you lose.
Yeah, you winning this round would get you on the board at least.
That's true. It would get me. We would be tied. Although the other one, I think the other one was a little cooler. I have to listen to that one.
Yeah, these are fun.
That was a lot of fun. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Everybody, this was yet another successful episode. I'm calling it right now of the PP1 Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. We are sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook and Game Time. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. Grant, as always, thanks for hanging around the chat, making this interesting. It's an excuse to not have to go to bed yet, so that's great. We had a great time. So on behalf of my man Ted, Garage Podcaster, I'm Ryan, Basement Podcaster. This is the PP1 Podcast. Peace out.